around here. What,
With a C, I think. Which is a departure point for
I absolutely have to fix it.
the strip of
Because there's no reason to do it. So things are going to start to make sense.
the way to the School of the Americas to
I keep going with it. It is really.
preparing an atmosphere of hope.
before I keep going with it. Spell things out while I begin to remember.
Maybe
I was really
get their social work degrees in jail.
That's what I'm hoping.
What's your name?
Sarah Wright.
Sarah. Any thoughts to share about
People, the young people
She's
a born agitator. Entertainers and musicians.
I really do just want to make trouble. No,
Go back to Russia, you commie.
I did not prepare anything to say. However, I'm just really excited to be going down to Georgia, something that I really care about. And if the United States wants a zero tolerance policy on terrorism, they got to start here.
That's right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And how about this person here?
Okay, I thought you said Dowdy.
My name is David Burnett.
David Wu?
Burnett.
Yes?
And yeah, I'm excited. Not looking forward to a 20-hour drive, but
Sure you are.
should be good.
Green Party sticker on. Before the
Should be a good
like
time.
4 years ago at the Army.
Right. What do you plan to do as you approach
As
the,
a green? Well, I'm a National Party
Around-
affiliate with one of those greens, those renegade.
Zorro?
All right, the military base. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's the money.
Yeah, he didn't.
But I'm looking to learn a little more about what the School of Americas is, and
Sarah,
'cause
how
I
you
don't,
doing?
I don't have all the answers. Just
Glad
here,
you're coming.
just a student.
I'm really glad to,
So-
because I really wanted to go.
Should be a good week, and
You got a credit card?
Well,
What?
I said it took
the
a
rest
little
of us
convincing.
are all happy about your
From yourself
attendance
to convince yourself?
intentions.
Yeah,
Thank
It'll be
you.
fun.
thank you.
it will be. I'm looking forward.
Since 61. Who's got a credit card? We need 61.
Hello,
Well,
I'm Jessica,
Jessica.
Brackett.
Hi, Jessica.
I'm just really excited to go. I'm really, well, I wasn't nervous until yesterday, but now I'm a little nervous. But I'm looking forward to going and
What's the nervous?
going to jail. You know, it's, I know what's happened in the past, and I'm just nervous that it's going to change this year because of the whole war on terrorism. So that's why I'm worried, but what will be, will be. So it'll all be good.
Thanks, Jessica.
It's Giltman.
Bennett?
Bennett.
Yeah.
Why did you decide not to go?
I don't know. Oh, his mom was his heart.
I'm Carly Whitaker.
Hi, Carly.
I just moved into town in August. I thought I moved here because I want to be a painter and this is a good small art town. But my life's been taken over by activism, mostly in the group called Iowa Mobilization for Global Justice. But I'm really excited about going to Georgia because there's a kind of strange symmetry about this war on terrorism, and I feel like I'm doing my little part to fight terrorism today.
Or maybe we should just
As
call
an
them and
American,
tell them that we definitely
Wouldn't it be cool
come
if,
and have cash? Is that what you guys are talking
That's what
Some
they-
more real global justice began
Out of this,
developing, blossoming from
I
Iowa.
believe it can. I'm optimistic. I'm hoping to stay here for the next 5 or 6 years and
Rather than
keep
in
that.
Georgia, for instance.
right. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
about? You know, it's supposed to be sunny and in the high 70s.
Hello,
Hello, sir.
When we go through Nashville.
I'm Herb Michael,
Now, I wish
Hi,
we were
Herb.
taking one of
Iowa City for 40 years now. This will be my 6th time going to Fort Benning.
Your 6th visit to Fort Benning?
My 6th, yes. 6 years in a row.
Would that not be weird?
At Fort Benning, is there any particular location or portion of the fort that has...
Well, I haven't
your
really been in the fort that much. I have crossed the line I think 3 times now. In fact, last year I got a ban and bar letter.
What's it called?
Ban and bar letter, meaning if you
I cannot do
come back in within 5 years, why,
one thing I'm
you're very likely to get fined and sent to prison.
But you got the word.
If you come back to where?
If you cross into the fort or join the protest. The fort itself is open.
Is this the School of the Americas?
Yes, School of the Americas, yes.
What are they known for?
Money, $50.
For
Money.
teaching the soldiers of Latin America. The counterinsurgency is their
Wow.
they're part of the military, and the
So is this is run by the United States government, is it?
yes, it's part of the United States military. One small part of
Well, yeah,
Fort
they have-
Benning,
yeah.
and
And they teach locals from other Western countries to practice terrorism?
I could go to the bank.
well, we don't really think they teach terrorism
But make it out to me.
specifically or particularly, but
You have an account there?
Yeah.
Can you cash it then? Yeah. Oh, you want to make it out to Meg?
we a lot of us see connections now between the school and what it does and the repression that has gone on, especially in El Salvador and Guatemala, Honduras and Argentina,
You get money out of the
And,
machine yourself? And fill it up?
massacres and death squads and disappearances of family members. And the school claims that it's just bad apples, but peace people don't see it that way. We think that our government and the military ought to have known long time earlier that the result of what they're doing was resulting in a lot of tragedy in Latin America.
The trolley used to run right down the middle of the
For the indigenous people, well, and poor. It's not all indigenous, but particularly the Indian people, indigenous people, and then the poor people.
Thank you. Young lady,
Yes, sir.
where are you in this crowd, or are you in this crowd?
I am in this crowd. I'm going with my fellow Iowa agitators down to Fort Benning, Georgia to call for the closing of the School of Americas, i.e. the School of Assassins.
Herb,
I
speaking
plan
of money,
on
did we get $50?
joining the funeral march and crossing the line and engaging in
Gave it already?
No,
civil
no,
disobedience.
but I haven't
I'm
ready for
hoping
it.
that they'll let me out because I already have 6 arrests on federal property for similar
Well,
actions.
$50.
How many?
6.
Actually, plus my $6.
So it's not just some pipe dream and some marvelous,
All right, I got change.
Edelweiss idea.
Yeah, I've been doing this kind of protest work for 27 years.
All right.
But I started when I was 3.
$50 right now.
For your blood.
All right. So the first
I'm teasing.
few arrests were you were given a pass.
No. My first arrest actually was
60.
sitting down in front of a statue of Martin Luther King Jr. in the Capitol in order to protest they reinstated military aid to the Nicaraguan Contras. That was my first arrest. My favorite arrest was when we shut down the Department of Energy. Thousands of us laid on the Beltway ramp, which is the only entrance to the DOE. And actually, Stephen Canner was there. We were at the same demonstration and didn't know each other then.
Yeah, he totally did.
Stephen Canner.
Stephen Canner. We're talking about
See him stumbling
the
up the hill
DOE
with a
closed
gun
down.
and
Stephen was
cigarettes.
there.
Is this the unlaundered money?
This is it.
I got your message last
Right. What is your name, sir?
Can I talk to you in a little bit? Talk on camera a little bit?
Well,
I got to do a few more things.
all right.
Didn't know about.
Well, We'll only
down
issue
the
a
DOE.
citation then at the moment.
Thank
The
you.
same place you were.
What we decided it was 87,
Waiting
88.
for Dave and Erica's.
Didn't
Blondie.
activism area.
All right. Are you going to the School of the Americans? Good.
Make 2 stops on the way, and I have really good news, which is that I have an additional $80. And if you see a Phillips 66 station and you need gas, give me a call.
Judith!
You got that?
Yeah.
Good. It's official.
I am.
I'm Meg.
Hi, Meg.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to
So
meet
you might put this
This
on
is
your
her
shoulder.
Michael.
Hi.
Hello.
Press the red button again.
Erica.
But we also need to
Okay,
stop
my name
at
is
John's and
Erica
return all the
Lee.
bottles in my trunk.
I learned
and
about
then there
the
will be
School of
a
the
room in my
Americas
more
when I
room in my
was
trunk,
doing
and he will have,
volunteer work
like 2
in
extra
Oaxaca,
dollars.
Mexico.
So I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to do that before I got here, but
They showed us a
did everything
video
else.
of the
Yeah,
fellow
good
volunteers
girl.
who we worked with who were
Good girl.
associated with Marinol Missioners.
I brought
At which time they also showed us
music,
the
trash
video
bag.
Roses in
Excellent.
December, which is about
paper towels.
Dorothy Kazel and Jean Donovan, Ida
a
Ford,
sheet and
and
pillow.
Maura Clark, who
Good.
lost their lives in
It's amazing how
1980
just like a little sheet
in El Salvador.
makes them as easy for you to go to bed.
The men who killed them
I
are
am-
associated with the School of the Americas. They were missionaries.
I don't know
all
what
of
it is.
them.
It's Jack Williams.
I think all of them associated with Marinol. Perhaps not. That's probably not quite
okay.
accurate. But
I was teaching
anyway,
Stephen
that's
about
how I came to know about the School of the Americas, and that was in 1994.
yeah,
I've
so
been
we can just stuff
protesting
this
ever
stuff
since,
wherever
but I've
at the moment.
never
It's just, like,
actually
there'll be more
been
room in the
to
trunk, and
Fort
also it'll be
Benning,
less
so
weight,
I'm
and
very
also we'll have like
excited
2 extra
about
bucks if we actually get around to returning
I have
all
to
of
get
it.
Laura now.
Laura!
Laura, before you run away,
Okay,
Name.
the trunk's open, so yeah.
I'm gonna put my stuff.
What do you want to know?
Name while you're going.
I'm Laura Crossett, and I'm going to the School of the Americas for a number of
will be
reasons, which I will illuminate at some further date. But at the moment,
put
I'll
together
just
like
say that I feel it's my patriotic duty to stop terrorist training camps wherever I can find them.
Good.
And I've never, well, no, I have been to Georgia. I take that back. Why are you interviewing me? I haven't slept.
We'll let you nap and then get you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Steve said we can edit.
I begged Carly, I said, if I say anything at all about
The card.
ethics, just smack you really hard. Now, Stephen, you really think we need footage of recycling here?
Meg, this is showing the complete protester
The cinema verite.
doing it all. Environment, justice, peace.
We're doing cinema verite.
But we can't aim the camera then.
This is how that movie started. What was that scary movie?
Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia la unidad. Unity, hand to hand we are walking, shoulder to shoulder we are working, and by sharing the land we harvest freedom. Mano a mano caminando, hombro a hombro trabajando y las tierras compartiendo, libertades cosechando. Caminando, caminando, vamos, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando hacia la verdad. Vamos caminando hacia la verdad. Truth. And the truth is that the opposite of freedom is not jail. That's why we have risked jail, continue to risk jail. We've risked our wallets, our names, and our very lives for other people's freedom or our own freedom. But the opposite of freedom is malnutrition, is hunger that eats you from inside. That definitely is, and that's why this verse says, ya no más desnutrición, queremos liberación. No al egoísmo, no a la guerra, a vivir la vida plena. Caminando, caminando, vamos, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando a la paz. Vamos caminando hacia la paz. There is no road already made for us, but there are little paths that have been opened by our martyrs, our ancestors, people who came before us, walking the road of peace. Ya no hay camino ya hecho, pero hay brecha preparada. Nuestros mártires la abrieron, caminando, caminando, caminando la jornada. Ready? Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando, libertad. Vamos caminando hacia la libertad.
There are 200 million people in migration as we speak. Only 2% of them are coming to the United States. They're being driven from their homes by wars, by environmental disasters, by corporate takeovers. It's got a chorus you can pick up real easy. One word, well, a few words. Where do the people go?
Where do the people go? Come on.
Where do the people go? Where do the people go? Oh, where do the people go?
¿A dónde vamos? ¿A dónde vamos?
¿A dónde vamos?
¿A dónde vamos? Hep, hep. ¿A dónde vamos? Oh, ¿a dónde vamos? Where do the people go? Let's try people go?
You got to open your doors.
Where do the people go?
We got to open our hearts.
Where do the people go?
Oh, where do the people go? Thank you.
Let's shut down that school. This is especially dedicated for my friend Steve Kelly, who right now is in prison in Brooklyn, New York, for closing down and shooting down nuclear stations as well as the SOA.
Last year. How many of you were here last year? If you were here last year, you had the opportunity to hear 3 women, children of the disappeared of Argentina. Because they live in exile in Canada, they were not able to be with us this year to add their powerful voices. They could not get across the Canadian border, and they were afraid because of September 11th, which evoked so much of their own story in their own country at the hand of the U.S. government. We have words from Ava. My name is Ava. I'm from Argentina, and I'm a part of a group called Hijos, children. That stands for Children for Identity and Justice Against Oblivion and Silence. The group is made up by children of the disappeared, children of political prisoners, children of exiled people, and children of people murdered by the military dictatorships in Latin America. Last year I was here with my sister Paola and my friend Veronica, talking to you about why we should fight to close down the School of the Americas. This year we are not able to be with you in our bodies, but our souls are here with you. I close my eyes and I can see you, standing for us and for all those who cannot be here with us anymore. All of you. Mis compañeros, my friends, I can see you all at Fort Benning singing proudly, yes, shut down the School of the Americas. I have to tell you that while I'm imagining you, my heart starts beating very fast. I'm afraid of what might happen to you. I'm afraid of what the military and the police can do. I'm afraid because I know what they can do. I know what they are like. I still remember my mother lying on the street, her legs covered in blood. I remember her asking us not to cry, telling us that everything was going to be okay. I remember them dragging her into a car while she was screaming. I remember them taking her away. I was 4 years old. My sister Paola was 2. My brother Marcos was 3. We never saw our mom again. Our dad was kidnapped 2 years later. Today I am 29 years old, and because I remember, I fight for truth and justice. Because I remember, I'm trying to change the world. Because I'm human, I'm afraid of what may happen to you. Because I want to be here with you today, I close my eyes and I imagine you standing for me, for my mom and for my dad, for Latin America, for peace in the world. Thank you all for the risk that you are taking today. You are brave, just like my mom was brave. You are beautiful, just like my country used to be before the deaths. You are my compañeras y compañeras in this long walk home. I am not alone. You are not alone. Ava. In the honor of knowing the Hijos women, I also have had the honor for the past 15 years of knowing our next speaker. On September 11th, 1981, a tragedy happened. I went to bed this year on September 10th, thinking about Adriana, because I always think about her on September 11th. Little did I know the next morning we'd be awakened to a horror in our own country, like the horror she and thousands have suffered in this world for decades. Because on September 11th, 1981, Adriana lost 2 of her 4 daughters, her father, her stepmother, and her 18-month-old baby sister in Guatemala. Please welcome Adriana Bartó.
Good afternoon. As Chris said, my name is Adriana, and I am a survivor of the war in Guatemala. I am also, as she said, a mother who for the last 20 years has had to live without knowing the truth about the whereabouts of her 2 oldest daughters, 10 and 9, at the moment of their disappearance. My daughters and my little sister and my father, stepmother, and one of my sisters-in-law were detained and disappeared by armed men, the military, who happened to be trained at the School of the Americas. 6 weeks before the disappearance of my family, my 23-year-old brother Carlos was killed in a huge military operation, which involved over 1,000 security officers. By that I mean police, army, and secret police, and which involved heavy military machinery. According to the REMI report, made public by Bishop Gerardi only 2 days before his assassination in 1998, an assassination that was carried out under the orders of people who had been trained at the School of the Americas. The 9 highest ranking military officers in Guatemala at the moment of the disappearance of my family had been trained at the School of the Americas. One of them, General Callejas and Callejas, is even a member of the school's Hall of Fame. On September 11, 2001, I wept for my children, my disappeared children, my father, and my other relatives. And as I watched in horror scenes of horrendous devastation, I also wept. And I didn't weep for the victims, I wept for their relatives. Because despite I have known for most of my life that the United States is greatly responsible for what happened to my family, for what has happened to hundreds upon thousands of people in Latin America, I never wished for the people of the United States to go to bed at night afraid, not knowing whether or not they are going to be alive the next day. I never wished for the people of the United States to wake up in the middle of the night to nightmares of the remains of their loved ones being eaten by dogs and vultures. I am very, very sorry. I grieve for the people of the United States because now you know what it is like. I heard President Bush say the day he announced the bombing of Afghanistan that this was our calling. He said, this is our calling. We are a peaceful nation. Our nation rejects violence and hate and war. we will not tire. That's what he said. And just recently I read an article written by a woman writer from India. Arundhati Roy is her name. And she said this, I'm quoting her. Certainly, it does not tire this, the most free nation in the world. Here is a list of countries America has been at war and bombed since World War II. China, Korea, Guatemala, Indonesia, Cuba, the Belgian Congo, Peru, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Grenada, Libya, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Iraq, Bosnia, Sudan, Yugoslavia, and now Afghanistan. It's a survivor of the war in Guatemala, a war sponsored by the United States, in a war in which 7 members of my family perished. I demand this school, the School of the Americas, to be shut down. Enough is enough. What else needs to happen for this country to realize that our husbands, our wives, our siblings, our parents, and our children are as precious as theirs? As a citizen of the United States, the country where my 2 surviving daughters and I had our first taste of freedom, the country where we were able to rebuild our lives, the country that we love, because this country is our home. It has been our home for the last 17 years. With all due respect, I would like to tell President Bush, the Congress of the United States, the leaders of the School of the Americas, that what makes a country the greatest nation on earth is not its dollars, nor the power of its weapons. It's its respect for the sacred right of the people of the world to live in dignity. And to live in dignity means, or to live with dignity, and also to die with dignity, means having a roof over our heads, having food to feed our children, having access to medical care. It means not living in fear of being killed or disappeared or tortured or raped. And that applies. President Bush, leaders of the School of the Americas, Congress of the United States, not only to the people of this country, but to the people in Afghanistan, in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, and everywhere else in the world. I would like to end not with words for the hypocritical leaders of this country, but with words for you, that sector of the people of the United States that cares and that is willing to do whatever it takes to stop torture, disappearances, killings, bombs, rape, wherever it is that it takes place and wherever it is that the United States is involved, to end. So on behalf of the people of Latin America, and on behalf of my family, on behalf of the families of the between 5,000 and 6,000 children that disappeared in Guatemala alone, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. We've heard how many students are here today. I'm wondering how many women religious there are here today. Let's hear it from women religious. Okay, I would like all of the women religious to stand up, and then I'm going to make a direction to you. So, all women religious and prisoners of conscience. Thank you. If we could have the women religious and the prisoners of conscience to go over to the picnic area, those people who have agreed to be collectors of money. Go over to the picnic area, which is on my right, is presumably on your left, and it's easier if you come down and go through the grassy area. I also wanted to ask, how many Veterans for Peace do we have here? Just as a reminder to all of us, the Veterans for Peace have been working to close the School of the Americas longer than any other group. And if you are a Veterans for Peace, or if you are interested in knowing more about Veterans for Peace, you should go to the Howard Johnson's on Veterans Parkway tonight at 7 p.m. Tonight at 7 p.m., Howard Johnson's, Veterans Parkway. And then we have a few people that we need to come to the staging area. Sanho Tree. Sanho Tree, if you are here, please come to the staging area. Gail Ferris, and Jack Nelson Pallmeyer. Jack Nelson Pallmeyer, will all three come forward. We give you two more amazing performers who travel this country. When I was in college, I used to go listen to Charlie King, and he's still doing it, and so is Karen Brando. Please welcome Charlie King and Karen Brando.
Hope you're ready to sing. Look all around you. Say, look all around you. See all there is just to be alive upon. Look all around you. At the people around you. See all there is just to be alive. Our life is more than our work, and our work is more than our job. That was our life is more than our work, and our work is more than our job. Time clocks and bosses, investments and losses. How can we measure our living in numerals? Time clocks and bosses, investments and losses. How can we measure our life in these ways when our life is more than our work, and our work is more than our job? Oh, sing it, our life is more than our work, and our work is more than our job. So let go what holds you back. Close your eyes, take a dive. We got a universe we gotta keep alive. Let go what holds you back. Close your eyes, take a dive. We got a universe fighting to live. Oh, our life is more than our work, and our work is more than our job. So sing it all is more than our work, and our work is more than our. Keep singing our life. So much more than our work could ever be at work. Oh, there's such work to do. More than any job, and we are here for a life. Life is precious to me. So much more than our work could ever be at work. Oh, there's work to do, and it's more than our job.
Some of those revenge songs. So what's this next one? This is for when we feel like things are not changing in our lifetime. Things we're working for a long time. This is a reminder that they do change. It's a song that Charlie wrote. Watching Nelson Mandela walk out of prison after 27 years in South Africa. The president of South Africa. It's hard for you.
Lift your head, sing and shout. Freedom coming, Mandela's out. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. How hard could that be? Oh, Mandela. Let me hear you. Oh, Mandela. Sounds good. Oh, Mandela. Sing Mandela free. Gonna sing Mandela free. Cape Town, Joburg, Soweto. Freedom come, apartheid go. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. Many years, long, long time. Weary people and the sleeping lion. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. Black and white, destiny. Live together in harmony. Ah, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. Poor say yes, rich say no. Where in the world did Bogota go? Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela. Sing Mandela, sing Mandela free. Finest sight I ever see. Tutu dancing Mandela free. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. Lift your head, sing and shout. Freedom coming, Mandela's out. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela free. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. Oh, Mandela, Mandela. We're gonna sing Mandela
we do one more song if you sing it with us, would you? It's a song based on the words of Australian peace singer Eric Bogle and the words of Pope Paul VI. It's their first collaboration, and it's got a real simple chorus. It goes like this. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. Let me hear you sing that. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. Now you can't have peace in a world of hunger. One dog over, one dog under. Can't have peace in a world of hunger. Not in this world until the last chain falls. Hunger will make slaves of us all. But if you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. You can't have peace in a world of war when the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. Can't have peace in a world of war. Not in this world until the last rain falls. War will make slaves of us all. So if you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. And you can't have peace in a world of hatred. Your way evil, my way sacred. No, you can't have peace in a world of hatred. Not in this world until the last chain falls. Hatred will make slaves of us all. Work for peace. So if you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. You can't have peace in a world of violence, a world of terror, fear and silence. Can't have peace in a world of violence. Not in this world until the last chain falls. Violence will make slaves of us all. One last time. So if you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no. Oh, you sound so good. Sing it again. If you want peace, work for justice. If you want peace, work for justice. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Do you remember how amazing the puppet performance was this morning? Tomorrow we need 100 people to be puppet carriers for the gathering. So if you are interested tomorrow in being a part of that amazing puppet procession and event and display, please look for the puppets when you go to the staging area tomorrow close to Fort Benning. Also, I wanted to remind you as you leave today, or if you want a little break, go out to the welcome booth, which was the sort of square area as you first came in today, and get a handbook on legal solidarity. And it'll have all the legal information that you need for tomorrow. And we still need Gail Ferris to come forward, Gail Ferris. And also prisoners of conscience. Prisoners of conscience, we need you to go to the picnic area so that you can get information about being a money collector.
A set of keys have been found for a Chrysler Country Blue. Michigan. The vehicle number is PSU 576, Chrysler Country Blue, PSU 576, Lansing, Michigan. If these are your keys, one of the officers near the front gate will be holding them for you. We also need Sanho Tree. Wherever you are, Sanho, please come to the stage area. Sanho Tree, please come to the stage area. Our next speaker, Teresa Gutierrez, is not able to be with us because she's in Texas, where executions are happening. Here to tell us more about her and the work of the Answer Coalition is Sarah Sloan.
For those of you who don't know, ANSWER stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. It was formed in the week after September 11th to oppose what became an imminent war, which for the last 2 months we've been told is one led by George Bush against terrorism. And a week ago, we heard that Bush signed an executive order as part of this war, ordering the creation of secret military courts to try those arrested in connection with September 11th. These people will have no due process, they'll have no access to attorneys. They will be tried, sentenced, and possibly executed in secret. And who will make sure to let us all know that this is a fair process and that these are in fact terrorists? Well, of course, it's George Bush and members of his administration. Apparently, since September 11th, they realized the most accurate and scientific definition of a terrorist, which basically comes down to anyone who they give that label to, anyone who they say is a terrorist. But I think we're here today to give a very different point of view. I think that all of us here protesting the School of the Americas, all of those who have been protesting the SOA for years, have been the ones fighting terrorism. Now, of course, we're probably not going to see any SOA trainees come before these secret military courts, showing that the real U.S. definition of terrorism has a lot more to do with whose interests are being served than what's actually happening. Because what is terrorism if not the CIA-Pentagon wars that have been carried out from Chile to Nicaragua, from Guatemala to El Salvador? There's a considerable laundry list of the CIA's work around the world, and in all of their operations, from Latin America to Asia to Africa to the Middle East, their largest operation in history was in Afghanistan. And what was the result of this operation? Well, today, on average, the people of Afghanistan live to be 43 years old. About 13% of them have access to drinking water. People on average have a per capita income of $180 per year. And for the last 5 weeks, 6,000 bombs and missiles have been dropped on Afghanistan. This has included carpet bombing, it's included cluster bombs, it's included fuel-air explosives, which asphyxiate and incinerate a 5-football field-sized area in seconds. So it'd be hard to conclude that this so-called war against terrorism is anything but a terrorist war itself. Now, we don't know what the short-term outcome of this war is going to be. The U.S. and Britain may occupy Afghanistan. They may set up a proxy government there. But this will certainly not be the end of Bush's war between us and them. Many of the Bush administration want to widen the war to Iraq. They want to use September 11th as a pretext to escalate and hopefully for them to finish their 11-year-long war against the suffering people of Iraq. And now, the leader of these terrorist wars, George Bush, has appointed himself judge, jury, and executioner of potentially thousands of Arab, South Asian, and Muslim people. Do you think Bush could have dreamed of more when he was Governor Death in Texas?
Yeah.
So while we fight this war abroad, we also have to remember that there is a war being waged right here in the United States against our Arab, Muslim, and South Asian brothers and sisters. Since September 11th, over 1,100 people have been detained in U.S. courts. Over 200 college campuses have given over names and records of students so that they can become the victims of FBI interrogation. There are at least 5,000 young Arab men who have become the targets of these FBI investigations. What is the Civil Rights Act of 1964 when racial profiling has been legalized? And so, as we wage this campaign in solidarity with the first-line targets of this domestic repression, who are Arab, who are Muslim, who are South Asian, most of whom are immigrants, we do so with the knowledge that the real intent of the U.S. government is to expand all of these repressive measures to include everyone within the United States. Their intention is to reverse the powerful civil rights gains that were made by movements like these in the 1960s. So our task is to build a movement now, a movement that fights back and stands up now, not in 10 years when our rights have been eroded. These demonstrations today and tomorrow are vitally important. Answer has launched a campaign called the Pledge for Peace, the goal of which is to get 100,000 people to sign a Pledge for Peace, so that when Bush says the country is united for war, we can prove him wrong. So sign that pledge today, or go to internationalanswer.org and become a part of the campaign. I also want to let you know about another important target for our protests. This January 31st to February 5th, the multi-millionaires and billionaires of the world will be meeting in New York City to show their international support for the U.S. war machine. They'll be doing this at the annual meeting being held for the first time ever in New York of the World Economic Forum. So as 100,000 New Yorkers lose their jobs, like tens of thousands of others around the country, while these working people are evicted and foreclosed upon and can't get unemployment and can't feed their families, and while people in Afghanistan live on $180 per year, the red carpet is going to be rolled out in New York for these banking and corporate elites, these politicians, these members of the media. These are the people who profit off of these CIA wars, terrorist wars waged against the people of the world. These are the people who profit off of the U.S. military and economic domination and exploitation of the world. These are the people driving the war in Afghanistan, the people who stand to make trillions off of the U.S. domination of Afghanistan and the Caspian region. So let's all pledge today to be there, to organize tens of thousands of people, to be outside of this meeting, to tell the world that this is not what we want, to say that it is absurd and unacceptable that there are 440 billionaires and multimillionaires who have as much wealth as the 300 million poorest people on the planet, because the rich have looted and plundered the world with the fist of the Pentagon to back them up. War should not be waged against our sisters and brothers in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Latin America, or in anywhere in the world. War should be waged against unemployment, against poverty, against layoffs, against hunger. So let's all be in New York City on February 2nd for a mass protest against those who plan and profit off of U.S.-sponsored terrorist wars around the world. Thank you.
We've had a couple of questions about the Jesuit gathering, and we do not have the most up-to-date information about that schedule and location. So if there is someone who has the most up-to-date information about that, if they would come over to my right, the left-hand side for you of the stage and give us that information. Just a couple other thank yous. We wanted to especially thank Tracy Stoddard, who has been a part of the stage team. Tracy is with the Brethren Volunteer Service, and just an amazing young woman who used to work for SOA Watch as a Brethren volunteer. And also our peacekeepers, those folks who are going around with the yellow vans. If we could give some good applause for those folks and the work that they're doing today and will continue to do tomorrow.
Some of the other amazing musicians who are not with us today but wanted to lend their voices. How many of you know Dar Williams? When I emailed her and asked her to possibly be here, her response back was powerful. And even though she couldn't be here, she wanted her voice to be here. So here are her words. In the days following the World Trade Center attack, I found myself going through the rubble of what to do next. I kept on muttering, make peace, make peace, make peace. It was urgent that everyone make peace, something, with anyone, someone, any opportunity. It is largely due to you, who have come so far to participate in this rally, that new systems have emerged. I've met you at my concerts. You are the ones who brought video cameras to Chiapas, supported workers' collectives in El Salvador, helped build schools in Nicaragua, fostered excitement and curiosity about the world outside the United States. We have to shut down the School of the Americas because we need that money, that space, and all those people we can find to continue your work, to pursue excellence and diplomacy and cultural sensitivity. We need all those resources to make peace, and because of your work, we have the foundation on which to build it. Thank you for the hope you've given me, and take care of yourselves. God bless Dar Williams. She hopes to be with us next year. 3 years ago, out of the crowd, unscheduled, a young woman came to the stage and mesmerized the crowd. It was Amy Ray of the Indigo Girls. And when we asked her to just do one more song, she said, "This isn't about me and the Indigo Girls. It's about being here." Because Amy and Emily are in a recording studio on the West Coast right now, they wanted their words to be here. To the activists for peace and justice gathered in our home state of Georgia this weekend, calling loudly, non-violently, for a permanent close the School of the Americas. We stand with each of you and with every people everywhere who suffer in Latin America, in the Middle East, in the United States. Those that rise up and say no to terrorism in its many forms, and who know that if we want peace, we must work for justice. And you are doing that work here and now and throughout the year by focusing on a specific and uncompromising goal: closing the School of the Americas and disabling this arm of trained terror that is murdering our sisters and brothers in Latin America. We know that U.S. foreign policy is steeped in corporate interest and relies on exploitation of the Earth's resources and poor people worldwide. We know the atrocities committed by soldiers of terror, trained right here at our Georgia soil, and how those atrocities maintain the status quo of terror and greed. We could not be here in person today, but we stand with you in solidarity at this most critical moment. We believe that it is in the dark and fearful times like these that the brave light of truth, shining from a place of love and outrage, is the genuine patriotic fire. Together, we will close down this school in solidarity. Amy Ray and Emily Saylor's Indigo Girls. And those 3 women are not with us in body. We have 3 other women who embodied the spirit of the Indigo Girls and of Dar Williams, and they traveled this country to close down the school, to stop injustice everywhere. Please welcome Colleen Catal, Jolene Christine Rickman, and Sprout.
Shall we dance? 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 Well, shall we dance? Well, shall we dance? What do you say? A bailar, a bailar. All right, we're gonna do a little dancing set for you today because we thought that we wanted to dedicate our little set to all of you. We know this was a particularly trying year to think about whether or not to come to Fort Benning amidst everything that's been going on. And I know there's been a lot of dialogues within your communities about whether or not it was a good idea to come here or not. And we just want to honor your presence here. We think you are some of the bravest activists this movement has ever seen. Thank you for coming. But you know, not everyone likes us being here. But one day they'll be very happy we came. History will tell. And they'll be like,
History will tell us.
History will tell. All right, this is a new little song, but it's based on this old jazz song. So clap your hands. Right. And so we would like you to all...
we shall dance.
Yeah. Kick off those shoes. We don't want no guitar playing around here. We don't want no guitar playing around here. We don't care what the arm says now, gonna play my guitar anyhow. We don't want no guitar playing around here. We don't want no banners playing around here. We don't want no banners playing around here. We don't care what the arm says now, gonna sway our banners anyhow. We don't want no banners playing around here. We don't want no puppets coming around here. We don't want no puppets coming around here. We don't care what the armor says now, got puppets coming anyhow. We don't want no puppets coming around here. We don't want no politicking around here. We don't want no politicking around here. We don't care what the armor says now, all about politics anyhow. We don't want no politicking around here. We don't want no rabble rousing around here. We don't want no rabble rousing around here. We don't care what the army says now, our rebels rising anyhow. I don't want no rebels rising around here. I do. I don't want no grannies raging around here. I don't want no grannies raging around here. We don't care what the army says now, our grannies raging anyhow. I don't want no our grannies around here. I just don't want no girlfriends kissing around here. I don't want no girlfriends kissing around here. We don't care what the army says now, gonna kiss my girlfriend anyhow. I don't want no girlfriends kissing around here. We don't want no troublemaker around here. We don't want no troublemaker around here. We don't say what the army says now, there's no trouble anyhow. We don't want no troublemaker around here. We don't want no yeehaw around here. Yeehaw! We don't want no yeehaw around here. We don't care what the army says now, gonna yeehaw anyhow. We don't want no yeehaw around here. We don't want no terrorizing around here. We don't want no terrorizing around here. If we don't believe the word, they say that they're closing down the SOA. We don't want no terrorizing around here. If they believe the word, they say that they're closing down the SOA. We don't want no terrorizing around here. Let's go! Celebrate around here. We don't want no music making, no criticizing, no perfect nation. No guitar playing, no puppets coming, no banners swaying, no rabble rousing, no grannies raging, no girlfriends kissing, no trouble making, no viola playing, no guitar playing, and especially no yeehaw. But if they believe the word, they say they're closing down the SOA. We don't want the SOA around here. Sounding song, and it's also a dance song. Close down the SOA, we don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the SOA. Close down the SOA, we will simply disobey, and you will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. Close down the SOA, we don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the SOA. Close down the SOA, we will simply disobey, and you will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. When you change the name, when you change the name, the guilty party still remains the same, still remains the same, still remains a shame, still remains the same, still remains a shame. Oh, close down the SOA, we don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the SOA, close down the SOA, or we will simply disobey. You will have some help to pay. Close down the SOA, close down the SOA. What? North and south, what? Close down the SOA. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the SOA. Close down the SOA, or we will civilly disobey. We will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. Cross the line we go, cross the line we go. Georgia, D, Seattle, Chiapas, Mexico. Our movement's gonna grow. It's all the same, you know. No IMF, no SOA, no WTO. Close down the SOA. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say, close down the SOA. Close down the SOA. Or we will simply disobey, and you will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. Buy stuck on the banks, buy stuck on the people say. Close down the SOA, close down the SOA, we will civilly disobey. You will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. Oh no, Barbarians say close it down. Unitarians say close it down. Vegetarians say close it down. Close it down. Catholics say close it down. Jews and Muslims say close it down. Protestants say close it down. Hindus and Buddhists say close it down. Cultures close it down. Vegetarians close it down. Politicians don't close it down. Then we are gonna close it down. Close down the SOA. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say close down the SOA. Close down the SOA. We will civilly disobey. You will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. Close down the SOA. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say close down the SOA. Close down the SOA. We will civilly disobey. You will have some hell to pay. One more time, a little faster. Close down the SOA. We don't need it anyway. North and south, the people say close down the SOA. Close down the SOA. We will civilly disobey. You will have some hell to pay. Close down the SOA. It's really very simple.
Jolie and Colleen will be with us tomorrow, and they'll sing more tomorrow. So I guess that means you need to show up tomorrow. Not that there was any doubt. Can we have information now about, more up-to-date information about the Jesuit gathering? There is a teach-in at 4:30 at the White Tent on the Riverwalk, and it's near the Columbus Hilton. So it's in the White Tent on the Riverwalk near the Columbus Hilton. Teach-in at 4:30. There is a Mass at 8 o'clock, and all are welcome to both of these events.
Before introducing our next speaker from Colombia, which at the current time is the largest number of SOA graduates wreaking havoc and terror throughout the country, we want to recognize two Colombians in our midst who are traveling and touring in the United States right now. We want to recognize Samuel Morales, who's the president of the CUT and a member of the Aruca communities, and also Edgar Payas, who's the director of international affairs in Colombia. So please with me recognize Samuel Morales and Edgar Payas in our crowd.
It's now my honor and privilege to introduce to you a man of great courage who speaks out for truth despite the fact that it comes at great cost to him. His name is Pedro Diaz. He is an attorney who has prosecuted civil rights abuse cases in Colombia. While living in Colombia, he coordinated the work of 30 prosecuting attorneys at a time when it has been very, very unsafe to prosecute human rights abuse in Colombia. They processed over 10 high-level officials, including generals and colonels in the military, for human rights abuses. One of the most recent cases to be processed was a general who was apprehended in July. The work that he was doing, as I said, brought him under threat. Carlos Castaña, who's the head of the paramilitaries, put out a threat on his life, and he was forced to flee Colombia. There have been more than 5 attorneys killed by the paramilitaries in Colombia. So the fact that this man is here speaking today speaks from great personal experience and great courage. So we welcome you.
Buenas tardes, disculpen que no les hable en inglés.
Good afternoon, excuse me for not speaking English today.
Yo vengo de Colombia y fui parte de la Administración de Justicia en Colombia como fiscal de derechos humanos.
I come from Colombia and I was part of the Judicial Commission in Colombia that administered the prosecution of human rights violations.
En Colombia hay una unidad de derechos humanos de la Fiscalía que investiga violaciones a los derechos humanos y al derecho internacional humanitario.
In Colombia, the judicial system has a unit that specifically works with human rights and also with international rights or violations of human rights.
Hemos procesado a altos mandos militares que están vinculados a masacres, desapariciones, asesinatos y paramilitarismo.
We have been able to process high-level militaries who are connected to massacres, to killings, and to the paramilitaries.
En estos 2 años han asesinado a 5 fiscales y a más de 15 investigadores.
In these last 2 years, they have murdered 5 prosecuting attorneys and 15 other investigators.
Todos por miembros de grupos paramilitares.
Each one was killed by paramilitary members.
El procesamiento de un alto general, ex general del ejército que se recibió entrenamiento en la Escuela de las Américas.
They are prosecuting a high-level general, somebody who had a high place in the army and who was trained at the School of the Americas.
Con un nuevo fiscal general.
With a new attorney general.
Ha detenido las investigaciones contra violaciones a los derechos humanos en Colombia.
Has stopped the investigation, the research into the human rights abuses in Colombia.
Los grupos paramilitares hacen presencia en las zonas donde hay cultivos de cocaína, de coca y amapola.
The paramilitaries come in the zones. They maintain a presence there where they grow cocaine and other goods.
Al igual que algunos grupos guerrilleros trafican con la coca y con la amapola.
And the same as other guerrilla groups, they traffic in drugs and in amapola, cocaine and amapola.
Las fuerzas militares han sido entrenadas 3 batallones de más de 3.000 hombres en Colombia para combatir a los narcotraficantes.
In Colombia, the 3 battalions have been trained specifically for the task of combating the drug growers, the ones who grow coke and that.
Y se ayudan cuando los traficantes tienen vínculos con la guerrilla de los grupos paramilitares para hacer su trabajo.
And they connect with the paramilitaries who have connections with the guerrillas in order to be able to make, to make some money, to have some commerce with them.
Carlos Castaño fue declarado terrorista el 10 de septiembre de este año.
On the 10th of September of this year, Carlos Castaño was declared a terrorist in Colombia.
El pueblo colombiano espera que el gobierno de Estados Unidos no apoye más a las unidades militares que tienen vínculos con los paramilitares.
The people of Colombia are hoping now that the United States will be able to get the Colombian military to stop the connections that they have with the paramilitaries, the military has with the paramilitaries.
Cuando la administración de justicia, cuando los jueces y fiscales no tienen respaldo del Estado,
when the judges do not have the backing from the Justice Department, you could say from the Justice Administration,
cuando investigar a los violadores de derechos humanos se vuelve un problema de Estado,
when to follow up, to investigate what's happened, it becomes a real state problem.
nos indican que las cosas están mal.
It shows that things aren't going well.
Tenemos 2 millones de personas desplazadas dentro del mismo territorio.
We have 2 million people who are displaced within our own territory.
Tenemos más de 1,200 muertos al año por masacres.
We have over 1,200 people dying each year on a massacre, because of a massacre.
Tenemos más de 3,000 personas secuestradas por año.
We have over 3,000 people yearly being kidnapped in Colombia.
Entonces, la guerra no es contra el pueblo, ni contra las organizaciones sociales, ni contra los campesinos.
So the war is not against the people, against the social organizations, or the campesinos,
sino contra los narcotraficantes y contra los paramilitares y guerrilla que violen los derechos humanos.
Our struggle is against the paramilitaries, the guerrilla, and those who deal with drugs.
Allá es donde necesitamos la ayuda.
That's where we need your help.
Gracias.
Thank you.
I understand that there may still be some confusion about the Jesuit gatherings. And so I'm asking if Dan Carroll would come forward. Dan, so that we can make some clarity about the times, because there is still significant confusion about that. So Dan, if you would come forward and come over to my right-hand side, to your left-hand side of the stage. Thank you.
If you were here the last 2 years, you heard a voice of great wisdom who's walked this earth for 83 years, Pete Seeger. We knew Pete wasn't going to be able to come this year at 83 years. He's still doing a heck of a lot of traveling and a lot of singing, but it was too much for him to be able to come this year. But he wanted you to know he was here. Greetings to you all. I'm sorry I can't be with you today. Do you realize that this peaceful demonstration shows terrorists anywhere in the world the real path to the future for the whole human race? Love to you all. Pete Seeger. We do have that continuing generation, though, of Pete Seeger. Please welcome his grandson, Tao Rodriguez Seeger.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all getting enough water. I come and stand at every door, but none can hear my silent tread. I knock and yet remain unseen, for I am dead, for I am dead. I'm only 7, although I died in Hiroshima long ago. I'm 7 now, as I was then. When children die, they do not grow. My hair was scorched by swirling flames. My eyes grew dim, my eyes grew blind. Death came and turned my bones to dust, and that was scattered by the wind. I need no sweets, I need no rice. I need no fruit nor even bread. I ask for nothing for myself, for I am dead, for I am dead. All that I ask is that for peace you fight today, you fight today, so that the children of this world may live and grow and laugh and play. I'd like to ask our friends Colleen and Francisco and Luke, who just arrived, to come on up here and help me sing a great song written by Argentina's León Gieco. It's made famous by Mercedes Sosa, who's known as the voice of Latin America, one of the most beautiful and humble women I've ever met. It's a song called Solo le pido a Dios. It says, I only ask of God that I not be indifferent to pain. I only ask of God that I not be indifferent to injustice. I only ask of God that I not be indifferent to war that tramples on the innocence of all the people. I only ask of God that I not be indifferent to treason. And the last verse says, I only ask of God that I not be indifferent to the future. León was exiled from Argentina in 1973 for writing this song during the fascist government of Argentina. This song is now known all across Latin America as a great anthem of liberation and freedom.
Junta trained at you know where.
That's right. People who assassinated President Allende in Chile.
On September 11th, yes.
1973.
There's September 11th.
So if you don't know Spanish, this is your chance to learn a little bit. Even if you don't help us sing the actual words, there's a chorus that's just la la la. You can la 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 along.
Después que una garra me arañe esta suerte, solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande y pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Es un monstruo grande y pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Solo le pido a Dios que el engaño no me sea indiferente. Si un traidor puede más que unos cuantos, que esos cuantos no lo olviden fácilmente. Solo le pido a Dios que el futuro no me sea indiferente. Desahuciado está el que tiene que marchar a vivir una cultura diferente. Solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande, pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Es un monstruo grande, pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente.
sunny day. You're the best people in all the world. Fills my heart with gladness, and I'll go home and I'll tell my grandparents all about it.
I have to just tell you that Tao told me yesterday if his grandma told him if he gets arrested, she's not free to bail him out.
Okay, in the continuing saga of the Jesuit gatherings, this is the most up-to-date information, and this, I have it on good authority, is the information. So the teach-in will gather at 4:30. It will begin at 5 o'clock. Again, it will be in the white tent in the river, near the Riverwalk, near the Hilton. The Mass will begin at 7 o'clock. Previously we announced 8 o'clock, but the Mass will begin at 7 o'clock in the same location. And the training, logistics and orientation training for the Jesuit community will be at 8:30 to 10 o'clock in that same location. Thank you.
We'd like to remind you that when we gather tomorrow, which is not in this location, but on Fort Benning Road, if you want to be a part of that procession, if you have not already been to an orientation, this evening at the Bradley Theater from 6 to 7:30 and from 8 to 9:30, it's in your program, in the green program on the inside. We really need you to be at an orientation tonight. Things have changed dramatically even in the last 24 hours and will be very different from years past. So we need you to be there if you'd like to be a part of that procession. Yaxta Suyo. Anybody seen that powerful Andean music group around? We need Yaxta Suyo to come to the stage. Yaxta Suyo, all members, please come to the stage. Also, when we finish at 5 o'clock, and we have a very good reputation of finishing on time, we need people, especially with cars, to help clean up, box up things, and move them to the media office. So if you can help us at 5 o'clock, we really need a lot of people because we have to entirely move out of this space. So I will remind you about this, but people with cars in particular, people who can help load those cars, we need to box up things and move them at 5 o'clock. And if you can do that, you would want to go to the information booth, which is right as you come in, right outside. Thank you. Mr. O is also telling me that we need help moving this stage since we will not be here tomorrow. So we need all strong, able-bodied men and women who don't have somewhere else to go at 5 o'clock. This stage has to be taken down and has to be put in the truck. So we need those people as well. Thank you, Mr. O.
Good afternoon. My name is Gail Ferris. I'm a witness for peace. For the last 20 years, in the name of Witness for Peace, I have led delegations of U.S. citizens, first to Nicaragua, to look at the impact of U.S. policy on the people of Nicaragua and hear their stories, then to Guatemala, El Salvador, and this year to Colombia. When the U.S. government began to fund to the tune of $1.3 billion, Witness called for delegations of U.S. citizens to go to Colombia to assess the impact of that money being poured in a country that's been at war for 50 years. We put out a call for a group in January of 25. We had 50 people respond. And then we put out a call for 100 to go in March. And I was blessed to lead that delegation of 100. We had 200 apply. Since then, we brought 200 people to Colombia. I was part of the group that went south to Putumayo, where the U.S. is spraying poison out of planes on small farmers, on the rivers, and on the Amazon basin. I was with a man near La Concordia, an agricultural school, named Jose Gutierrez. Jose carried his son, 6 years old, covered with sores from glyphosate that's being poured on him and his family. And he said to me, "What am I going to do? My son is dying. What am I going to do? We are all starving." because your government is pouring poison on our land. We met with indigenous people from the rainforest who came in to say to us, everything is dying. The monkeys, the snakes, the birds, the food, the trees. Stop. Stop your government from doing this to us. And so Witness has made a commitment next year to bring at least one delegation a month to Colombia. There will be 2 in January, one of students led by Oberlin College students, and one that I will lead of environmentalists and labor movement people. I still have room for 13 people. I don't want to leave this weekend without filling those slots, so we go 50 strong to Colombia to see for ourselves the impact of our government policy on the people of Colombia. We must engage the environmental movement in the United States. We must engage the labor movement. We must engage the people of color in our country. We must stop this policy soon. The rainforest, which is our lungs, cannot exist with ultra-glyphosate being poured on it daily. Our tax dollars at work. So I challenge you to join us. You'll see people with these same blue shirts in the crowd. They've been with us to Colombia. Ask them what it was like. And then sign up. We need you in Colombia. One of the blessings of the delegation.
You that when you leave, or even if you want to take a little break, go to the Welcome Center and pick up the School of the Americas Watch Jail Court Solidarity Handbook. It has extremely important legal information that you need and will want to know for tomorrow. So go by the Welcome Center and pick up the School of the Americas Watch Jail Court Solidarity Handbook.
The Welcome Center, when you came in those gates, remember when they went through your backpack and all that kind of stuff? Right when you came in that gate, there's a little house. It's a little booth. That is our Welcome Center. So that would be the place to go. You're welcome. The reason we have so many statements of support this year is because last year, we got a statement of support for a musician known throughout this world. And she's been a supporter. In fact, she's given us a lot of money for a long time. And when she gave us a statement of support last year, it dawned on me there's a lot of other voices out there who could be giving us statements. So I'd like to thank Bonnie Raitt. And it was Bonnie that other people be a part of her statement. And since she works a lot with another amazing musician, the statement is authored by Jackson Browne. And by their friend Harvey Wasserman, who is an author and an activist. Here's what Bonnie, Jackson, and Harvey have to say. Thank you all for coming and voicing your outrage. This is the doorstep of one of America's most shameful institutions, a training ground for international terrorists that is sponsored by our own tax dollar. We cannot be with you in person today, but we support you in telling the world that our nation must stop spreading the evils of secret violence and cynical killing on one hand while claiming to fight them on another. It was our government that trained Osama bin Laden in the war against the Soviets and financed the Taliban in the name of war on drugs. It was our government that set up Saddam Hussein, whose arms to fight a brutal war against Iran in which countless thousands died. It was our government that used chemical and biological warfare in Vietnam, elsewhere. It was on September 11th, 1973 that our government launched a terror attack against the people of Chile, murdering their elected president, Salvador Allende, and installing the horrid dictator, Pinochet, connected to the School of the Americas. Those are the legacies left to us by institutions like the one that you are at. The fight we believe in is for justice and freedom, not corporate power or filthy oil, for truth and nonviolence, not military domination or global corporate dictatorship. Above all, we cannot stop the killing of innocent civilians by killing more innocent civilians. As Mahatma Gandhi once put it, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. By being here today and by making such a powerful statement for peace, for justice, and for an open society, you make a sane future possible. You are the true patriots, operating in the best American tradition of peaceful but forceful protest, offering the best the U.S. has to offer and the world to future generations and all to come. We thank you with all our hearts. Bonnie Raitt, Jackson Browne, Harvey Wasserman. How many of you got the last SOA Watch National newsletter that was sent out at the end of September, October? If you got that newsletter, you saw that these words that were just spoken are tax dollars. Those tax dollars pay for the terror that's happening in this world. So I'd like to say a word here because our next speaker, Kathy Kelly, was not able to get here. She was not able to get here in part because her schedule is so crazy and she's traveling across the country and the world to voice opposition as a part of Voices in the Wilderness against the bombing in Iraq, the sanctions in Iraq. She has been nominated for the second time for the Nobel Peace Prize. When I talked to her this morning and she just could not get a flight because of Atlanta being closed yesterday, she couldn't get in here. She wanted me to tell you a couple things. One, she is a tax resistor. Her tax dollars and many of us. Scream if you're a tax resistor. All right, in the last newsletter there was a publication if you want to know more about tax resistance. You can tax resist, as I do and many do, by not paying the federal tax on your phone bill. We send that federal tax every month to the SOA Watch office, but I have to tell you, don't send it every month because sending 78-cent dollar checks is really difficult for the office to handle. But you can save that money. You can save your federal tax all year long, and at the end of the year, send one whopping checks to the SOA Watch office, and that money supports us and it doesn't go for war. Or you can find out more about tax resistance. Kathy wanted you to know that. I also need to let you know that 12 years ago, when the 13 people fasted for 35 days, Kathy was one of those original 13 people. So in her honor, let's give out a great scream for the Voices in the Wilderness against terror in this world. We've been saying all along that a lot has changed, that we've had a lot of lawyers working with us. Now we're about to hear more of why that is. To get an update on the scenario for tomorrow, please welcome our co-director, Jeff Winder.
The eyes of the world are on Columbus, Georgia this weekend. And I can tell you from where I stand, it's a beautiful sight. In the midst of the bombardment of negative images around us on the media these days, the violence of the war, the fear and confusion in response to the terrorist attacks, the hatred and desire for revenge that the powers are trying to instill in us. And I see such a contrast here. I see diverse faces. I see people from all over the country, creative energy, the incredible power of the puppet pageant that happened earlier today. As we prepared for this weekend's gathering, we had some very new logistical challenges to deal with in the wake of September 11th. Just a few days before we were supposed to gather here, an injunction was requested by the Columbus City government against myself, Roy Bourgeois, Eric LeCompte of the SOA Watch staff, and Kent Little of our advisory group. The injunction identified us as the leadership of this movement and asked the court to issue a restraining order, preventing us from marching in a funeral procession, encouraging people to march in a funeral procession, or participate in any demonstration within 50 yards of Fort Benning. We went through a few very difficult days in the midst of an already overwhelming time, trying to cope with the enormous logistical tasks of getting ready for an event like this. We continued to dialogue in the spirit of cooperation, try to reach an agreement with the city of Columbus, and in the end, we were unable to do that. There was no offer put forth that we could in good conscience sign our names to. And so we went to court. The Columbus Superior Court recognized immediately that there were broad constitutional issues at stake here and outside of the scope of their authority to deal with. So the issue was moved into federal court, showing that this is not a decision to be taken lightly. And in the end, we were in a very difficult negotiating meeting after several days, very busy, hectic meetings, not a lot of time to sleep. And the decision was before us. Do we sign off onto this agreement, or do we risk having an injunction that would restrain our participation in this, that, given our experience with the Columbus Federal Court, would likely mean a 6-month prison sentence for each of the 4 of us? And we decided that we had to go ahead, that it was important to take a stand on this. And I'll tell you why we felt so confident doing that. It's because you can't pick out 4 white guys from a gathering like this who are working on certain technical aspects of the event, lock them up and think that you've imprisoned the leadership and that the event's not going to go ahead. We went forward with full confidence that this is the leadership of SOA Watch, and that if we were imprisoned, each of you would have stepped forward to fill our places and to carry the memories of those who've died at the hands of SOA graduates forward, that you would have continued to speak truth to power. So we went to court confident, happy, secure in that knowledge. And I sat in the same courtroom in front of the same judge who a few months back sentenced 88-year-old Sister Dorothy Hennessy to 6 months in prison because she had crossed a white line painted on the pavement in a non-violent funeral procession calling for the closure of the School of the Americas. And I listened in awe as he ruled in our favor, as he expounded on his decision and said that because of our long-standing presence here, our scrupulously nonviolent tradition, we have created a legitimate public space for our freedom of expression that no government has the authority to take away from us. And so, tomorrow morning, there's no need for us to come to Golden Park. Tomorrow morning, every one of you can march in a funeral procession to the gates of Fort Benning with no risk of arrest. So we'll gather at 8:30 for the memorial service like we have every year for the past 11 years. We'll gather near the intersection of Victory Boulevard and Fort Benning Road. There's a large parking lot there in the shopping center called the Main Gate Plaza. It's private property. Sometimes the owners of that parking lot have charged people to park there before. We're not exactly sure what we're going to find there yet tomorrow. But that will be our gathering point. Also, we know as you proceed down the road towards Fort Benning, the neighborhoods off to the left offer lots of on-street parking that don't have any time restrictions. So we're hoping if parking is a problem there, people can just get dropped off and the drivers can go and find parking places and join us. And then if you'll move ahead from that intersection of Fort Benning Road and Victory Drive, down the road towards the main gate, you'll find us somewhere within the first block or so. We haven't decided the exact gathering point. We'll determine that in the morning. We're scrambling at the last minute to develop a sound system for this unexpected change in location. And that's where we'll gather for our memorial service, like we always have, calling forth the memories of those who've gone before. And we'll process from there to the gate of Fort Benning. If anybody is considering an action that does risk arrest, that does risk possible imprisonment, I'd encourage you to come to the logistics and orientation session that's at the Howard Johnson Hotel at 1011 Veterans Parkway in the Presidential Room. That's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. All the details that you will need, legal briefing, an opportunity to coordinate with other people and form an affinity group if you're not in one already, will happen there. It's very important to be there if you're considering a high-risk action. It's important for everyone else to participating in the funeral procession to come to one of the orientation sessions that'll be happening at the Bradley Theater, as we do every year. For those who are participating in a jail solidarity action, I want to reiterate that it's important for everyone to come to the final preparation meeting from 6 to 11 p.m. tonight at the Rivertown Inn. Everyone participating in jail solidarity, not just a representative from each group, but each individual person. That's important. There's information that will be vital for you to fully participate in that scenario. So, we've come full circle. In the wake of the September 11th terrorist attacks, it was an open question whether we were going to be granted a permit at all to gather anywhere in the city of Columbus for some time. We moved around from location to location in our ongoing dialogue and negotiations with the Columbus city officials. And finally, we ended up here 5 miles away from Fort Benning, enclosed by a fence, surrounded by corporate advertising. And now tomorrow morning, we'll be back at the gates of Fort Benning with broad constitutional protection, with a precedent set that will ensure our ability to gather there every year until the School of Assassins is closed, until the foreign policy it represents is changed, until we live in a world where there is justice, freedom, peace, and dignity for all people. All right, y'all are beautiful.
3 years running,